We are live. This is a patron meeting with Vikram. Vikram is an Atheist Republic patron, a super patron, right? So anybody above Satan's minion gets to schedule a call with me. Look for the link in our Patreon account, and we are live streaming this on my personal channel, Armin Navabi YouTube channel. And then once the live stream is over, we're going to upload it on Atheist Republic. So if you are watching this on Atheist Republic, check the link in the description. Follow my personal YouTube account so that if anything happens to Atheist Republic's main channel, you guys already know where to find us. Anyways, hi Vikram.
Hello, Armin. How are you?
Good. I see the I see Katie is here, Soha is here, Queen Fabi is here, Mortad is here. All the people from the AR family are here. Afshin is here, Dali is here. Cool. Oh, by the way, we're also live streaming this on Atheist Republic's Twitch. Ghost Bunny is here. So link to our Twitch is also in the description. Okay. Queen Fabi is saying, "Oh, hey, it's this dude again. Hello."
Hey, hello. Nice to meet you all, everyone.
All right. Cool. All right, so you wanted to talk about angry atheism versus anti-theism. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to just share a personal story on that would kind of explain this in a deeper context. So a lot of times I see these two terms conflated together when people would think that an anti-theist is just someone who's kind of angry about the atheism, like who's very angrily atheist. For me, in the last time we talked, I brought up how I kind of call myself an atheist from like 15 years old onwards, and when I started being more open about it, I was not just telling people I was an atheist. I was also very kind of obnoxious about it. Like, for example, sometimes I'd meet a friend and we would start talking, and every occasion I would get, I would just try to find reasons to bring it up. And it became a bit annoying for some of my friends because, you don't it's not a topic you really want to be talking about all the time. And I started finding myself in more and more arguments with people because like sometimes you'll meet someone who's like more religious and they weren't really looking to talk about that topic, but somehow I'll bring it up or I'll just like make a criticism of their religions unwarranted or like unwelcomed in a way, and then they would get annoyed. And also I remember like my Facebook used to be filled with just atheist memes, and I was about maybe 17 years old at that point. And slowly what I ended up realizing was that, I'm trying to phrase it the right way, was that my reason for being so like kind of angrily like atheistic, I guess, like to bring it up so much when like all the time, was that growing up I wasn't aware that atheism was a thing. Because I thought that everybody just believed in a god and it was like a normal thing. And first time when I started doubting, I felt like a madman in a way because it felt like, oh, I'm the only one here, no one else. And what ended up happening was that I watched a documentary that had the word atheist in it, and I Googled the word, and then I started like finding out how common it is, which is funnily enough when I came across your Facebook page or your Facebook profile, and I think I added you because I saw like a post where you were like, hey guys, if you're an atheist, add me. And I added you, and I think my birthday was on the 23rd of December, and you commented, you were like, hey, happy birthday, Vikram. I was like, oh, that's that one atheist guy I know. And so what ended up happening eventually was that I started realizing how normal it is, because I think I had joined like a few like atheist Facebook groups and stuff, and I was really mad in a way because it felt like, why did no one tell me this was a thing? This whole time I thought I was like this insane guy who didn't believe in a god while everybody else did. And so in a lot of ways, that was kind of my way of rebelling against people around me growing up. And the more I've kind of come to think about it, I started realizing that since I grew up in a very religious society, being kind of so angry about it was my way of really like trying to assert myself in a society where everyone was kind of thinking differently. So yeah, that's how I tend to think of the angry atheist. But if you look online, people might say that, oh, the angry atheist he's like this rebellious teenager who's just doing this because he's rebelling. And you have examples of like people like Brad Pitt, I think, who was like atheist for like 2 years and then he became spiritual. But he'll say that, oh, I was just going through the angry phase. But for me, at least, I'm still an atheist. My view haven't changed at all. All that happened was that anger that I felt, it's kind of gone now, and I'm more calm about it, if that makes sense. And yeah, just let me know if you have any questions on it, and then I can get to antitheism.
Well, the way I feel about it, and the way I want some religious people to see why initially we go through this frustration phase, is because, and I think the frustration stays, but it changes. The reason for it changes. Okay, the initial frustration is, first of all, how much of, I don't know about you, but how much time and resources I wasted on this whole crap that nobody told me that is for nothing, right? Another feeling that you get is that it feels like your entire worldview just collapsed, and you feel like you've been living in a dream, and it's just so weird that most of the planet is still just accepting this as reality, something that is so obviously a lie. And it just seems like they're just living in a different world. And the fact that they're not seeing it, it's just so frustrating. You know what I mean? And it just seems like it's kind of like I know this is like a cliche example and it's cringe, but I'm just going to use it. It's kind of like you just logged out of the matrix, right? And everyone around you is just in there, and you just want to tell them, like, dude, like, this is not real. Like, you're living in a fantasy world, and you can't believe that the vast majority of the planet has still bought into this. And you just want to shake them, be like, dude, this is a lot. Like, I know, like, but you get at some point, at first you're like, how could this be? How could so many people, like, how is it something so transparently obvious right in front of their eyes? It's just frustrating that they can't see what's happening, right? But then I think what happens, like, just guys, here, look at this, right? But at some point you realize that it's too, I think, at least I'm speaking on my behalf, is that I have to accept that people are not that smart, right? And just because you see something from your perspective and some people around you do it, is too much of an expectation from most people, right? Not just with this, but with most other things, right? In fact, even right now, what I've realized is that even among most atheists, they didn't become atheists because they critically thought about these things, right? As atheism grows, a lot of people will become atheists because they're frustrated with religion, because they don't like the lifestyle, because they've been wronged by government or by families for religious reasons, or as some people even like the atheist community and think like, oh, these are a bunch of cool people, and they become atheists just because they want to be with them, right? So not only most people were intelligent enough to realize that religion is bull crap. Even among atheists, most of them were not smart enough to be atheists. That they are, and it's okay. And I'm not criticizing that. I have learned to accept them. Okay, I've learned to, and I hope because I also understand that I am pretty sure that I'm dumb about many other things that is so transparently obvious to somebody, and they're looking at me and they're like, wow, I can't believe Armin is not getting it. This is so obvious. And they are right and I'm wrong. And I'm hoping to be forgiven by those people for how dumb I am on that specific topic or on that specific issue, right? So I have to be accepting and forgiving of other people's idiotic views on the things that I think they got wrong, so obviously, right? So, but the frustration switches from being frustrated with people and how dumb they are to being frustrated with how much damage these ideas are still causing to the planet, right? And I think that's why you go from the angry atheist phase of being angry at individual to being to the anti-theist phase of like, okay, I'm not angry with people, I'm not angry with religious people, but this idea is we need to figure out how to reduce the harm or end it as soon as we can without being passionately angry with individuals. Like we still have to be strategically figuring out how to end theism as much as possible in many places without holding these people accountable and being frustrated with them, right? I mean, sometimes the frustration comes back, which is understandable, but the more we have to be more strategic, thinking more long term rather than individually being angry with people. What do you think?
Yeah, that really resonates with me because I remember back when I was in my peak phase, like in my mind, I really thought that religious people were like, I guess the RETARD word. I'm trying not to use less, but that was in my mind. That
No,
was
no,
the word.
I think YouTube is okay with idiots. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were really stupid in my mind. Back then, I was like, how can you not see how stupid this is? Like, can't you realize like religions is just a really dumb thing? And what kind of slowly changed my mind was realizing that religion, in a lot of ways, it's very cultural. Like, it's not to a lot of people. That's what they grew up with, but was always around them. Just because I was able to figure out that it's just nonsense doesn't mean that other people had the privilege of going through that realization. To a lot of people, like removing religion from their lives means like moving away from their family, means like changing their lifestyles completely because they can't go to church or temple or mosque or whatever anymore. Well, for me, even though it was that much, I was able to do it. But a lot of people maybe cannot. They need that community that religions would provide them. And it's not just as simple as realizing that it's just nonsense, which it is, but
Yeah, but it's also a very what you have to realize is that me and you are like mutations. Me and you and the people in the live chat, we're not normal, right? It's not from an evolutionary perspective, right? Humans have evolved to be followers rather than, you know, and that made strategic sense from an evolutionary perspective, right? uh, and from an evolution of the meme perspective, memes perspective, um, it makes sense for most people to be just followers so that they keep the tribe going without asking too many questions, right? But it also makes sense to have a few rebels in these tribes, just so that if one of them comes up with a way to start a new way and a new method, most of it is going to end up being disastrous. But just so happens to be, this is my theory. I don't know if anybody has come up with this, but I feel like it makes sense to have a few rebels so that just like a mutation in genes, most mutations are going to end up being failures, right? But just happens to be every once in a while, a mutation is going to be beneficial, and that's how evolution works. So, from a meme perspective, it makes sense for most humans to be followers, but it also makes strategic sense to have a few rebels here and there as mutations, and maybe some of these mutations all of a sudden ends up introducing a new way of life, a new culture that ends up being beneficial not to individuals but to the tribe as a whole, right? And again, this would be not just like, but the reason why I say not to the individual, because this would also be the Muhammads of the world, or the Adolfs of the world, or the Stalins of the world, or the Genghis Khans of the world, or Mandelas of the world, right? It doesn't have to be beneficial from our perspective, better for reducing misery, but for the survival of the tribe, it might make sense for you to have a few rebels, right? So the reason why I say this is that when I look at the reason why I can be less frustrated and more forgiving to people is because when I see humans being following blindly, right, and being tribal, right, I know that is as a utilitarian, that is not beneficial to the individuals, right? But it is beneficial to the survival of a tribe. And I think, like, I don't get upset because I'm like, this is humans doing human things, right? When they're tribal, when they're following, when they don't question things. Me and you are the black sheep here. We are the abnormal ones, right? I mean, this in the same way that I don't get upset with wolves for slowly eating alive a gazelle without killing it first, because I like, why would I get upset with wolves? These are wolves doing wolf things, right? So I don't get upset with humans. People are like, oh, I expect more from humans. Well, there's your mistake. There's your mistake. Your expectation is too high. Just because you've been around like intellectuals or rebels, you think, oh, I expect more from humans. You shouldn't. This is what you see happening most of the planet. This is humans doing human things. You have to just reduce your expectations so you don't get frustrated all the time. What do you think?
Yeah, one of the things I'm wary of is the negative consequences of being angry about about your beliefs. Because if we use the example of, like, back in 2015, the peak SJW stuff, what was happening, a lot of their beliefs were quite correct. What was the problem was how they would deliver it. Like, if you think of the meme, it was about, like, the blue-haired like campus feminists that people would use. But those were people who were probably also going through a rebellious phase, because people who dye their hair blue, get tattoos, get all those stuff, they usually are people who are trying to rebel against something, and that was their way of asserting their identity. And then when they would be very aggressive with all the memes you've seen online making fun of them, that was just them rebelling against something the same way when we were in our angry atheist phase, the same way we were rebelling. So it's one of the issues with that, being like that, though, is that even though your views are correct, you might push people away from them just because of how obnoxious you're being. So in a way, being the black sheep might not be the good thing to be.
I mean, you can still be the black sheep, but be better about how you approach other people. And I think we all have to go through a learning phase. Like I like when I see people who just recently became atheists, and they're frustrated and they are lashing out against their friends and families. I think that's healthy. I think they need to go through that, right? And I think, like, we need to leave room for that, and we need to provide an outlet for them to come and vent, right? So, like, one thing we do on Atheist Republic, we still produce memes that a lot of, like, atheists who are a little bit like, it's been a while for they remember that phase, like, why are we producing memes like this? This is so, I don't know, 2014, or so, like, this is too old, like, we have moved past this stuff. I'm like, no, you have moved past this part, right? There are many other atheists that are still going through that, and we need to be there for them, and we need to let them vent as much as they want. I mean, they just recently found out they have been lied to all their lives, right? And they're frustrated, and they need to be able to rely on us for us to provide a community for them to come out and be like, do the same thing that we did, right? And also, venting could be healthy, but if we provide a community for them to come and vent to other atheists, maybe they're going to be less annoying to the people around them, right? Because maybe they didn't have, like, other atheists that could be coming like, oh my god, this is so stupid, I can't believe people believed in this. So they would have to go and bother their friends and family. Maybe they would be able to remain more social with their religious friends and family if they get to come to us, to the communities that we provide, to just tell us how dumb and annoying all of this is, right?
Yeah. One thing I wonder is that if, let's say, someone were to is going through that angry phase, if maybe instead of providing a space to vent, if we just, I don't know, send them to, like, some therapy or something to help work through that stuff, I don't know, because one of the things that I noticed with, especially with the angry atheist thing, like it's just a hypothesis of mine. I'm not sure if it's true, but I think of Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson. Like back when Sam Harris became super popular, it was a lot of like rebellious teenagers that were liking his stuff, and maybe a bit older people too. But like it was a lot of people in that rebellious mindset. And then as we kind of got a bit exhausted, what happens into like a portion of them was that Jordan Peterson came in and he was like the one to fix their daddy issues, the one to be like their father figure that they never had. And while Sam Harris was still being this kind of angry, more like providing the more rebellious, more anti-religious side, Jordan Peterson was like, hey, come here, I'll teach you how to clean your room. Like, and he had this kind of persona of like, I'll be your father that you never had, and I'll teach you how to become a better person. And I saw quite a few of them who stopped calling themselves atheists, and they were like, no, we need religion in society. Although they'll still call themselves atheists, but they became a lot more pro-religion, which was a bit of a weird thing. Like I remember there was this guy called Mouthy Buddha. That guy was like creating atheist content. He was a fan of Sam Harris. Then Jordan Peterson came in. He was like, oh, I'm going to stop using the label of atheist for myself. And then, Mouthy Buddha went down the alt-right thing quite a bit afterwards. But for the sake of this discussion, I'll just stop at how even someone like him who created content on atheism, like he went from the rebellious atheist to the pro-Christianity, not an atheist anymore guy. And last time we talked about how you had a debate with Sargon of Akkad on that, who also is going down the same thing of being this anti-theist, pro-enlightenment to leaving that rebellious phase and becoming more like sympathetic towards pro-religion beliefs. So I guess I would say that for me, I feel like if you go through your angry atheist phase, try not to make it too long. Because if you stay too long into it, you're going to get so fatigued, you'll just go back the other way that you were at the beginning.
I think the issue is something else. I think a lot of us atheists who try to find our own way, who try to objectively evaluate everything. We underestimate, because we can't relate. We underestimate how much so many other people just need somebody, a guiding hand, somebody to follow, somebody to admire as a father figure, as somebody to tell them, just like give them motivation. Like, I tried, for example, getting a trainer in the gym for a while, right? And like everybody's like, this helps you, and I like gives you motivation. And like I couldn't understand it. Once I quit doing that. I'm like, I give myself motivation. I don't need a gym trainer, right? But but for so long I tried to, because I don't need certain things, right? I don't need a certain culture. I don't have any allegiance to the place I was born. I don't feel like I need a sense of belonging. I don't need these things, and I think like I just look at what works best and go with that. And a lot of the people in our community are like that. But as we grow, these are the first people that start a movement like this, right? The rebels, the people that want to find their own way. But as you grow, you're gonna get people involved in that. No, they're not like the founders, right? They're not like the first movers. They're like, oh, I'm here in this community because I feel a sense of belonging here, right? Oh, I'm here because I like this leader, and he's telling us, or he or she's telling us, that this is the right thing to do, and I admire this person, and I want to do what this person is saying, right? And we're like, no, don't do this. No, guys, objectively analyze everything. Do not trust everyone. Don't follow anybody. Like, look at the data. And I think this is because we're like that, we expect other people to be like that, and I think this is a failure from our end to not to try to make everybody like us, right? And not understand why other people cannot be like that. And this is one thing you learn when I was taking marketing in school, was that if you, for example, if you want to market a product and if you're coming up with a promotion, it's not, you don't go with like, oh, this will make me want to buy this. That's like the least reliable way of figuring out what works. You actually have to do A/B testing, do like have study sample groups, and like this is like, and when all of a sudden you see something works, it's completely different from what works on you, right? So if I say, guys, this is like, be more like you can't, we rebels, we can't go tell people like, hey, be more like me, be more like me. Their brain is not wired like that, right? So the reason why the new atheist movement, I guess, wasn't able to grow, and all of a sudden somebody like Jordan Peterson managed to come in and be like, hey, I'll be your leader, I'll give you the sense of, the father figure, the belonging, the spirituality, is because the atheist movement was like constantly relying on people being logical, people being skeptical, and and because of most people in this movement do not have, the initial people didn't have the desires that most people have, they don't understand why more people are not coming in, right? And what we have to realize is that, and this is difficult from us, because now we have to provide something to the vast majority of the people, something that we can't relate to, something that we don't want, right? So how could we effectively provide something that we don't even understand, right? Like me and you don't even understand what is this thing? What do you want? What is it that you want? But we have to we have to study it, we have to learn it, and we have to provide a healthier way of providing these desires, satisfying these desires, much healthier than religion, right? Like, and these are desires like a sense of belonging, community, leadership, guidance, what else? A purpose, something like we keep telling people, like, just make your own purpose. Like, like, no, give me a purpose. Like why are you asking us to give you a purpose? Me and Vikram here, we made a purpose and we're following it. Why can't you guys do the same thing? You're like, no, give me guidance, give me purpose. I want somebody to tell me, show me the way, show me the way. I'm like, God damn it. All right, fine. We have to figure out how to do this, but I don't know how to do it yet. But this is what's missing right now.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've been thinking about quite a bit was, I wonder if the new atheist movement was really providing the logic and the reason and stuff, or were they just providing like, it's like you think they are being logical and rational, but they might not have been as rational as we thought they were. Like, I'll give an example. So I was watching Cosmic Skeptic. He made a few videos on Christopher Hitchens, and he brought up some stuff that, like, so I've been a huge Hitchens fan. I read God Is Not Great. I have the Portable Atheist at home. I've read a whole bunch of his stuff, and I've watched most of the Hitch Labs on YouTube. But one thing that Cosmic Skeptic brought up was that kind of changed my mind a bit on how I felt about Hitchens, was that Hitchens, a lot of times when a theist would bring up a question, he wouldn't really respond to it directly. He would have like a retort that would sound really funny and would get the audience to laugh at the theist, but in the end he never was really addressing what the theist was saying. For example, the theist would say, if not from God, where did you get your moral values? There are plenty of answers to that, but Hitchens was always, when you look at all the atrocities that religions are committing, how dare you say that us atheists are not moral? Like, how dare you dare to question like our morality? And this sounds nice, but it doesn't really address the question. Like, even though it is true that the religious people weren't really like as moral as they claim to be, he never really answered the question itself that he was asked. So when I see things like that, I kind of wonder if the new atheist movement was literally people just being rebellious, and the reason it died out was because people just stopped being rebellious. Like, I'll use myself as an example. So if I'm not sure exactly what new atheism means, but if it meant just like kind of rebellious, angry atheism, uh, that was in a lot of ways what I tend to think is that as much as I claimed to be godless at that time, I spent an overwhelming amount of my time obsessing about how God does not exist. Well, nowadays, it's just not a topic I think about anymore. Like, I have no religion. I never attend any religious ceremonies. I live like a godless life completely. But most of my life, I don't think about religions. It's just not something that's like, but it's not present in my life when I meet people, and I don't bring it up. If someone brings it up, then I'll give my opinion, but it's just not. I don't. It's not my. I don't really have an obsession towards hating religions anymore. So sometimes I feel like new atheists were just people who were too obsessed with hating religions rather than really being like a godless person who just, is an atheist and religions didn't affect their lives.
Well, I don't think it's fair to, I mean, it's personally, if you don't want to think about religion, I think that's fine. But I don't think it's fair to not, I think it makes sense for us to be focused on religion. Because just because you might move past that, that doesn't mean that religion is not harming the planet. The religion is still really harming the planet. It's the most common falsehood. The most common falsehood, false. I mean, as a whole, all you're muted. You said something.
Oh no, I was nodding to what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying, like in general, as a whole, we know that false beliefs, more people believing in views that are false, is more harmful to the planet than more people believing in things that are, closer to reality. Like this is like not a very outrageous claim to make. Okay, like it's pretty understandable for how more people believing in true things going to make their lives and everyone else's lives better, right? When it comes to the belief that is most common, that is false, it's the God belief, right? So I think just because Vikram has moved past worrying about God, that doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense for us to continue fighting against this bad idea, given how damaging it is to the whole planet, right? I personally have been, I'm now bored of discussing why there's no God. And that's why I wrote a book. I made it a book so that I don't have to argue it ever again, even though sometimes I get dragged into a debate here and there, and I do it, but I don't. I'm really bored by it. That's by the way, the book is freely available to anybody. If you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description, you get the book for free. But I'm still fascinated with religion. I actually went through two phases. I was like obsessed with God and why there's no God. And then I moved past that. I debated so much, and I waited for so many years for these theists to come up with new arguments. It kept on being the same thing. I was like, why even discuss this anymore? Wrote a book, and like, here it is. Don't need to ever touch this again. But then I went through a phase like religion is boring. And now I'm actually went full circle. And now I'm obsessed with religion, not because I think it for enjoyment purposes, not for like, I went from hating religion to not caring about religion to now enjoying religion from the way you enjoy mythology, right? So went full circle. Now I'm actually obsessed with Islam and Christianity, from not because I'm attacking it, but because I'm enjoying it as fiction and as stories, right? I it's a hobby of mine now, right? And I feel like this is another, by the way, this is another answer to this problem that we're having, is because I'm thinking about why reinvent the wheel, right? Religion has gone through so many years of meme evolution at coming up with the right stories and everything that people relate to, right? And I'm like, the part of religion that is dangerous is the belief, not this tradition, not the mythology, not the art, not the community, not the churches, not the mosques, like the architecture, right? All of that could still stay there if you just get rid of the belief part, right? So so when it comes to how do we provide something harmless that addresses all of that to people, I'm like, what, we don't even have to create something new. We could just go back to teaching people how to enjoy their religion without believing in it. It's already there. So the same way a lot of Jewish people had to manage to become atheists and remain cultural Jews, and like they have provided the role model, right? They like doing all the things. They have the community, they go to the synagogue, they dress up, they have all the scripture, and they have everything. They recite, they sing, they hold hands. I don't know what they do, but there are communities of people that do that, and you ask them, do you believe any of this is real? And they're like, no. The dangerous part is believing that there's a Yahweh or a Moses. They think all of this is fiction. None of this could be dangerous if they don't believe in it, right? So we could create cultural Muslims and cultural Christians who actually don't believe in these religions. And this is why I keep telling Muslims, like, you have no idea how much fun your religion is if you stop believing in it, right? When it comes to, and I don't think that the new atheist movement was illogical. I think it was very logical. Just because you could find mistakes here and there, that doesn't mean the whole methodology was wrong. I think it was the exact thing. It was the right thing at the right time, right? And for the first movers, you do need to exactly what the new atheist movement prescribed. But to move past that, I think we need to start providing more, right? I'm pretty sure every single one of these people have had mistakes in responses, in the things that they said, in the way they said it. They committed logic fallacies. But as a whole, these people were overall pretty good. Pretty logical. To this day, Sam Harris's moral landscape is pretty good. Relative to, I think pretty. I don't know if you disagree. I think I really enjoyed that book. That book reshaped the way I look at morality. Right, Christopher Hitchens' style. You might, we right now ourselves are saying that people need more than just objectively analyzing how the merits of the argument. They need some emotional thing to latch onto as well. And I think, well, even back then, Christopher Hitchens provided that, right? I think like the way that he addressed, the way he wrote, was beyond just trying to analytically evaluate religion. It was appealing to people's sense of emotion, that it's okay to be atheist, that these people who are shaming us, they believe in things that deserve shaming. And so, you might think that logically that might not be the best response to it. But again, we just here said that there needs to be this emotional sense of, you know what? We are on the right side. Like screw people telling us that we're inferior, right? Sometimes you do need to appeal to people's sense of emotion so that they don't feel constantly down and attacked. These are people that are constantly being told that they are less, they are inferior, that there's something wrong with them, that they deserve to be punished. And now somebody's coming out and writing and talking about certain atheism in a way that makes them feel good about themselves, make them feel proud to be atheists. And that's exactly what they needed at that time. So I don't think that's necessarily a wrong response. But I do have things about Christopher Hitchens that I criticize, mostly the Iraq War thing. But I don't think this is one of them, right? But anyways, I talked for too long. You want to respond?
No, it's fair. Like I don't hate Christopher Hitchens. It's just a criticism of his. But ever since I've seen it, it's like before I noticed it, I didn't realize what he did. But then once you notice it, it's like you see it every time. Like we saw the thing when people would ask him, do you believe in free will? He almost always answered with, of course I believe in free will. I have no choice but to believe in free will. And it's a funny quip to make in the moment, but in the end, when you're having like a formal debate with someone, it's not answering the question. But yeah, whatever. I don't. It's fine. Like Hitchens had a good. He was important, which is why he became as famous as he did. And a lot of his works have pretty much like revolutionized the field he was in. Uh, one
And
regarding
one thing
sorry.
else, like it would, I mean, he has said he has had so many good takes,
Mhm.
and he's been talking for so long, right? And he's been in so many speeches. If you don't find something that you disagree with, then that would be weird. Like you're dogmatically following Hitchens. Like, of course, he's gonna have takes here and there that you're not gonna like, but overall, he was his views and his ideas were revolutionary, right? That doesn't mean that he's not gonna have a couple of takes here and there that is not maybe you're not gonna find. I mean, you should, in fact, you should be able to find things that you don't like from anybody that you admire. You know what I mean? Like unless or else you're in a cult, right? But yeah.
And regarding the whether atheists should be like thinking so much about religions and stuff, when it comes to people like you who are activists, it's kind of your job to do it. It's like I wouldn't like the same way if you're a politician, it's your job to care about politics, you know, like all that. But I feel it's like it's a bit unhealthy for someone to whose job has nothing to do with that topic at all to spend more than 4 hours a day thinking about it, like listening to stuff on this one topic like for so long. I feel like yeah, it's probably a sign of maybe there's something inside you that's you're missing and you're trying to get that through this hatred of religions when maybe you should try and fill that void elsewhere.
I mean, people could be part-time activists too, right? And you don't have to be a full-time activist like me. And like if you said that about somebody, like let's say somebody wasn't a full-time activist, and they were part-time doing activism against animal abuse, would you say, like, you wouldn't say that why are you so focused on animal abuse? Is there something missing inside of you that you're trying to fill with this part-time activism on animal? And maybe, like, yeah, maybe it is, maybe there is something missing. They want to feel like they're contributing to something that is matters to them. And if somebody is an ex-heroin addict and now they are not a heroin addict anymore, and they have a full-time job, but they spend like part-time, like going online, talking to people who are heroin addicts and talking to them about the way. It's not like all they do, like they're not like me, that is like full-time activists, but they are still obsessed with telling people, okay, look, this is what I did, this is what you should do, these are the people you need to hang out with. I don't know how that works, by the way, so I'm not an expert, but I'm just saying, like, you might be like, okay, why is this person is already not an addict anymore? Why is he spending every week talking about heroin addiction? Is there something missing? Well, yeah, there's something missing, and they're successfully filling it with feeling that they're being helpful, right? With people, like, they can relate to people who are still addicts and they're trying to help them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So if somebody is an ex-religious person and they're not a full-time activist like me, but they still want to part-time, do debates, they're still interested in it, they still want to see if they could help people who are religious, but they're skeptical, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think, like, that's wonderful. You don't have to be a full-time activist to have an excuse to do this.
Yeah, no, even part-time activists, it's like you're actively involved in this kind of world. What I'm referring to is just people who maybe spend like 5 hours a day or even more just listening to this one particular topic. Maybe they'll watch like 10 YouTube channels a day, and they do this over and over, like every day. Like this level of obsession, I don't think is very healthy. The way I tend to look at it is
Who
like,
does
let's say
that,
you're
though?
in, sorry?
Does it, like, who does? I don't even do that. I'm a full-time
Oh,
activist.
no, but a lot of people do.
Hmm.
But I never
I mean,
reached that level, but I was really obsessed. Like, I've read so much atheism that after a while, it's like, what am I going to do with so much information? Yeah.
right.
But
I
yeah.
mean, it's good. I mean, if somebody is passionate about a certain topic, I mean, who am I to judge what they should be passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, no matter what I say, if it makes you happy, just do what you want. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm not on a crusade against people who do that. It's more that all I'm saying is like a cautionary thing of if you find yourself so obsessed with a topic, no matter what it is, like kind of think about is it healthy for me to engage in this? If it is, go for it. If it's not, try and evaluate what's pushing you down there. But if
I
in the end you're engaging in it healthily, go for it, right?
I
It's
think
your life.
you might be a bit biased because you're frustrated with some people there, but you wouldn't say the same thing if somebody was very much into knitting, right? Right? Like what if somebody was like had a full-time job, but they really like knitting and they were watching 5 hours videos a week on knitting, and then when they're not watching videos, they're knitting, they have a knitting community, they go to knitting club, they share their knitting, I don't know, pictures on Instagram, and they're constantly getting books on different methods of knitting, and they're like, you were like, why are you so obsessed with this? They're like, yeah, I'm obsessed with it because I'm enjoying it. You wouldn't tell them that, oh, it's wrong for you to be this obsessed with knitting. They're having, I mean, this is what they like to do on their free time. I mean,
It
I don't know.
I feel like to make the analogy similar, it's instead of saying someone who knits, think of someone who creates maybe knitting Facebook groups or who goes on comments on YouTube videos in the comment section, but who spends like maybe 7 hours a day just arguing with people and trying to cancel other people online over, oh, you use the wrong knitting technique. And therefore, and then like
Okay,
who spends this much like this level of obsession that I'm referring to. But
so
just being passionate about a topic is fine.
okay, so you changed it though. You changed it from the method that they engage in it rather than how much they engage with it. Okay, because it's not, you went from them trying to cancel people, being aggressive with other people. But if they weren't doing that, if it was still 5 hours a day focusing on knitting, and it wasn't any being hostile to anybody 5 hours a day or something, you would be okay with that, right? So if somebody was focused on the atheism topic or religion topic 5 hours a day, but they weren't trying to cancel people or being hostile to people, that would be the same as somebody that was interested in knitting 5 hours a day and they're passionate about it without without being without going out and being aggressive or hostile or something like that. That would be similar, right? So it's not the level of obsession that is your issue, is the type of activity that they have while they're engaging in it.
Yeah, in the end, the level of obsession is not like if you're engaging in something healthily, do whatever you want, right? It's your life. And even if
Right.
you're not being healthy about it, it's your life. Who cares? Uh, what my the thing about these two is that I feel like people who end up being acting in this way that's very aggressive and very kind of counterproductive in a way, those are the same people who initially were obsessing too much about this topic, so that's the link I would put with both of them. But I don't like, in the end, it's whatever. I'm not it's not something I think about a lot. It's
Mm.
just uh it's like all I would encourage people would be to know that whatever you're passionate about, that you're engaging in it in a way that's healthy and that's productive for yourself, and not just like, first of all,
Right.
not something that would kind of affect your mental health.
Right. That's a good advice. I agree with that. Right.
Yeah.
um yeah, try to, yeah, something, if you notice, if you keep picking fights with people, at some point it's gonna affect you mentally, right? If you keep surrounding yourself with people who constantly hate on you for the things that you say, it might affect you mentally. So yeah, that's a good advice, right? Like try to figure out a way, even if you're obsessed with a topic, try to figure out a way. Like just notice if it's changing your mood, if you waking up angry every day, if you're if you are getting frustrated with people when you're engaging, like just make sure whatever you're obsessed with and you see as entertainment or something that you're passionate about, just notice your mood and the way you're changing your own mood and the way you're changing other people's mood, and just see if you're happy with that, right? So, and I think you could do that. I don't think obsession with certain topics or certain activities is necessarily a bad thing. If I think as long as you figure out, is this making me happier, and am I making other people happy? Those are the main two questions that you should be asking, to see if the level of obsession is not the issue. Is how you're doing it, I think, is the more important. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, like, the answer is not, therefore don't obsess over it. If you want to obsess over anything, go for it, right? If it makes you happy, just be healthy about it. Like, but
Right.
when I think of who does it the worst, I think of people on Twitter. Like,
Mm.
I deleted my Twitter account and I'm never going back, just because, like, I feel like no matter the topic, like, people get way too invested into it, especially when there's like drama between the content creators we like. They
Mm.
they take it too far. Like, ultimately, like, you shouldn't be this invested. I feel like sometimes when, I don't know, it's because I've seen a guy, for example, I won't say his name here because I'm not trying to start anything, but like, he's a friend of mine, but I remember on Twitter I would see him arguing with the same guy over whether there was a God or not for about 2 months in the
Wow.
same thread. It's
Mm.
like, do something better with your life. Like, don't just do that.
But I don't know. Maybe he gets joy out of it. What's wrong with that? Like, what if the
Yeah,
okay? How about this? How about if the, I think you have had bad experiences with this God. I mean, I'm bored of it. Okay,
yeah.
okay. But what if there were two people on Twitter debating? I don't know the effect of um, a, on whether certain diet works or not. And there were 2 months going after of it. One of them was keto, and the other one was calorie in, calorie out, right?
Mhm.
And they both were debating over whether they were doing citations, and somebody like, oh no, you can't, you're going against the laws of thermodynamic, and the other one like, no, you're denying research. And they were over 2 months arguing with each other over this, and they're both using scientific like research to cite, and like you wouldn't be this. I feel like maybe like notice that there's some personal bias you have against this topic yourself, because you wouldn't have the same feeling about other people debating other topics, even if they were obsessed over it.
No, I think I would, just because I feel like, especially online, when you're arguing with a stranger you don't even know, it's
Mm.
like you're getting frustrated at a a profile with like 20 followers with no profile pictures, like with a weird names, like,
Mm.
Yeah, if it makes you happy, go for it, like.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, I just feel like if it makes you happy, if you genuinely love it, like, go for
Mm.
it. I'm just talking about being careful that you're not harming yourself. But yeah,
Yeah,
if it
yeah.
makes you happy, like, just do what you want.
Yeah, just notice how it makes you feel every day, and then see if this is making me happy or not. And also think about it long term, because sometimes there are certain things that makes you happy in the short term, but if you notice how your mood has changed in the long term, it hasn't helped, right? Like you get some really short term satisfactions, but long term you feel like I don't like myself this way, right? So just notice short term and long term satisfaction, how something is affecting you.
And I had a question, like, again, I don't know the answer to that, but it really relates to what we were talking about earlier. I wonder, like, why did the new atheist movement turn into the intellectual dark web movement? Because initially it was about people like Dawkins, Harris, Dennett, and there's one person, Hitchens, yeah. Uh, uh,
I don't think
it,
they turn into that. I think they're separate from each other.
mm, it might be because, like, a lot of like the YouTubers I used to follow back then, a lot
Mm.
of them like became super into that the culture war stuff, and they moved into the anti-SJW, and now they are either far left or far right. But people are super invested in the
I don't.
IDW stuff, which I'm kind of confused by. But yeah,
Okay, I think that you only notice the ones that went to far left and far right because they're the most interesting. Because a lot of them are somewhere in between, right? So just because so many of the people that you follow all of a sudden went to far right or far left, that doesn't mean. I mean, how could it not, right? Some of them will, some of them would, and those are going to be the ones that grab the most attention, right? I mean, once the whole this culture, identity politics stuff became a major issue, obviously the people, many of the people, I mean, any other movement you follow, when they started talking about this topic, some of them aligned with far right, some of them aligned with far left, and some of them, and most of them were somewhere in between. So I mean, it's to be expected. What else did we expect? I mean,
No, it's just that yeah, I mean, in the end, like, do whatever makes you happy, right? But it's because um I remember like how a lot of them kind of were atheist content creators, then became anti-SJW at the same time, and then became like, then I think anti-SJW stopped being popular, and nowadays it's more popular to be like, some of them became super far right, but then it became more popular to be further to the left. So nowadays I just see a whole bunch of them just turning, like their views on everything is changing, and it's like too many people at the same time, you know? So it kind of feels like, are you really genuine right now? But yeah, I don't. It's not like I don't know what the answer is to that. You might just be right. I might just have like my selective bias of only looking at the ones I know and ignoring the whole bunch of other people who I don't see, who haven't changed much.
I think it's too much of an expectation to think that the people that got the answer to one question right get the answers to other questions right as well. Like, just because they were right about, like, I don't know, religion or God, all of a sudden we're like, oh, I expect you to continue getting everything correctly. I don't know. Like, you know, so we're like, oh, I'm so disappointed you were an atheist activist and now you believe in this crap. Like, as opposed to being right ever, forever, continuously. Like, how, like, yeah, I don't know.
And I wanted to like talk more about, just since we talked a lot about angry atheism, maybe talk about the anti-theism side.
Okay.
So when we think of anti-theism, so but it's basically anti-religion plus anti the concept of a god. So uh, I guess I would say, like, do you consider yourself to be an anti-theist? Anti-theism, at least, like, not anti-theist of like not anti people who believe, but anti the beliefs. Like,
Okay. So what do you want to say?
no, I'm asking you, do you consider yourself to be anti-theism?
Oh yes, definitely, for sure, of course. I'm not just anti-theism, anti any wrong ideas, including the ones that I might be holding right now. I'm against those as well, and I will fight them as soon as I figure out which one of my ideas are wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm against wrong beliefs as a whole. So obviously theism is one of them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm pretty, like, my personal beliefs. I'm pretty much not a fan of religions at all, even the harmless ones, because ultimately I feel like promoting faith is not a good thing, and for society.
The so-called harmless ones, but yeah.
Yeah, this harmless one, you know.
Yes.
One thing I try to do though is, like, if I talk to someone who's more kind of pro-religion, I try not to come at it from like a very aggressive place and just telling them that no, it's really stupid and whatever, because I feel like that wouldn't be productive. Instead, what I try to do is, well, I'll try and point out what things about their religions that I like. For example, I could talk about the community building, I could talk about the food and stuff like that. And then at the end of a conversation, I'll try to show how I'm able to enjoy those things without having a belief in a God, or in that God, or in any, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like,
good. I like that.
like, for example, last time I was talking with a friend of mine, he was saying that, you know, like, I'm a man of science. When I go to church and I hear the pastor say how, like, you know, like, Jesus did this thing and like all that, I know it's not true. It can't be true. But when I go to church every Sunday, I feel good. You know, like, he was sharing how, like, he feels his sense of spirituality about it and all. So I brought up that, yeah, I get it. Like, the community, you get to meet people you know and you like every Sunday. It gives you something to do on the weekend. You feel very united in a way with other people who share a common belief with you. But you could have all of that. You can still go to that church to enjoy those things, but you don't have to believe in that thing that you know doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but he already said he doesn't believe, right?
Yeah, he's an atheist, but he's like a.
There you go. This goes back to what I was saying. You could still go to church. Whatever people think, like, oh, you need the belief in God to get those things. And your friend doesn't believe in God, thinks all of those are made up, and he still manages to go to church and get all of those feelings. So you don't need the belief. You don't need the belief, and we don't even need to invent a new way for people to get all those feelings. They could just keep going to the, I mean, I don't need that, but if they need it, they could still go to church, they could still go to their mosque, they could still go to the temple, they could still go to synagogue and do all the things that gives them all those feelings, and just don't believe in them. All the harm comes from the belief. So if your friend can get those, then why can't other people? This is what we need to recommend to people, that, you know what, you don't need to get rid of the traditions to get those feelings. I'm telling you, this is the solution. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to promote cultural religious activity without the belief.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends like that from different religions, but they still go to pray and stuff, but they tell me like, yeah, I don't believe in any of that stuff. Like they they were like, I don't call myself an atheist, but I'm almost fully atheistic. I just like the like I don't know, we find some form of like meaning in going to church or like a temple for the other friend of mine as well. And it's very strange because I met even like a friend of mine who calls himself Muslim, but he doesn't believe in, yeah, I don't know, I guess because I'm more atheistic myself and I'm quite open about it. The people who will share that are people who are more kind of like sympathetic towards the atheistic side. So they tend to tell me about how like, yeah, we don't believe that stuff, but we just like the other sides of religions. And I don't get it myself because I just like I don't see what's appealing about religions, because to me, like when you look at the community building and all that, I can do that in other ways. I love, like, I'm in track and field, so I love going to training and stuff like that, and I meet other people there who we also love that
Right.
stuff, so we connect with that. I don't need some like imaginary sky thing to connect me with other people.
Well, they don't need it. They don't seem to need it as well. They are doing it without the belief. And Trail here saying, I listen to Hindu Sanskrit mantras almost daily because I get a kind of relaxation high out of the aesthetic of them. Yeah, me. I enjoy sometimes, like, I listen to the Sufis Zekr song. I like, this is like giving me a mental high. I don't know what's happening, but it's pretty cool, right? But I don't enjoy, like, I don't think I would ever get a joy out of going to church or doing the prayer, like Islamic prayer and stuff. But I do get enjoyment out of the stories from Islam, or the history, or the art, and Christianity as well, and Judaism and Hinduism as well. But we could all pick and choose what we enjoy from it and just go with that. I mean, again, I really think this is what the solution is. This is what the solution. I mean, by the way, like, there are rabbis that are atheists. Rabbis, like full on rabbi. Like, I can't wait for us. Oh, we in Canada, we have priests. We have who are atheists, right? Again, a lot of people, like, I don't understand why people need that if they don't believe it. Yeah, I don't understand it either, but they do need it. Just because we don't get what they're like you say, you get that community sense from like your track and field or whatever they're doing. So I don't know what they are, why they need to go to church to get that. We don't need to have to understand them to see, to know that they have that desire. And there is there's no harm in people going to church or mosque, or synagogue or temple. If they don't believe in it, all the harm is removed, right? So I'm waiting for us to have an imam that is. I'm waiting for the day that we have an Friday prayer by an imam who's an atheist, open atheist imam. And imagine how much they could reinvent the whole thing in the ways that they like. If they're not if they know it's not true, they could make it a lot more fun. They could make it a lot more interesting. They could tap into exactly all the feelings that people get out of, I don't know why they go to a mosque, but whatever that is, you're a lot more flexible on what you do with it if you're not tied to the sunnah, right? Your hands are untied now to do what you like. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the future of religions are all going to go down that way, when
Mm,
like mostly it's going to be atheists there, but it's going to be like, even the priest might not be a believer, not be very religious, but
mm,
I guess they'll like maybe instead of saying those stories like they really happened, they will say the same stories as uh, it's like as a work of fiction that they like to listen to and gain like some moral advice from it. And that would be an interesting thing to see.
Well,
But
I don't. Yeah, I don't know about moral advice. These are not good stories to get moral advice for. But here's the thing: I do want to mention that this is not. This is the difference between reform and secularization. Okay, because I'm very much against reforming religion. This is called secularization. This is what me and Ali Rizvi call secularization of religion. The difference between secularizing religion and reforming it is they're the complete opposite of each other. Okay, reform requires you not doing certain things that religion, not like foregoing the tradition and keeping the belief, like looking at the text, reinterpreting the text, make it seem like it means something else, lying about what scripture is telling you. That's like reform, right? Like Islamic reform, for example. Okay, but maintaining the belief, like doing whatever it takes to maintain your belief in Muhammad, in Allah, and the Quran, just coming up with excuses for why these verses mean something else, but maintaining the belief in whatever way possible. That's reforming religion. Secularizing is the exact opposite. Secularizing is keeping the parts, the tradition, and the activities that you enjoy, getting rid of the belief. Because if you get rid of the belief, the traditions that you keep are going to be the harmless ones. Nobody's going to go boom boom because for tradition's sake without the belief. Nobody's going to beat their wife if they big for tradition. Not like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to beat you anyways because it's tradition. No, if you get rid of the belief, the traditions that stay are only the ones that are just for fun, the ones that gives you a sense of community, gives you a sense of purpose. So the secularization is getting rid of the belief, keeping the fun traditions. Reform is getting rid of some traditions but keeping the belief. We want to get rid of the belief. We don't want to reform religion. We want to secularize religion. That's a tongue twister. But yeah.
yeah, because like we're talking about how like so many like Jewish people are now atheists, and that's great. And I feel like other religions are going to follow a similar trend because I've seen a lot of, at least among my friends, who even still consider themselves to be part of religions. A lot of them aren't as religious as their like fathers or like their mothers and ancestors for like further, not ancestors, like grandparents and stuff like were. And I feel like slowly it's gonna reach a point where like people are gonna go to church or whatever, but they aren't gonna be believers, you know? Like they're just like, I don't know what they're like in church. I feel like to me it's really boring. Like when I was growing up, my parents would send me because they wanted me to have a feeling of like every religion. So I've been to church a few times. I've been to temples of different, like there's Hindus, Tamil, and all that. And I went to a mosque once, but I was kicked out, which is like a funny story. But
yeah,
it was in Abu Dhabi. But yeah, so I feel like growing up, like it's weird because my parents told me that if ever someday you change religions, it's okay. But like as you're still growing, try and understand each one of them well first. They just never expected that going through all of them would be like, you know, it's all the same nonsense.
All right. By the way, we already went
yeah.
over an hour. So, is there any last things you want to say?
Yeah. I was wondering, did you want us to go to another topic, or do we stick to this one?
Well, I mean, we already went. I need to go now, but
Sure,
we could.
that's good for me.
But can we could schedule another call on a
Sure.
separate topic? Yeah. But yeah. If you have other topics in mind, just email me with the same subject and all, and we'll schedule another call. This is so it's always fun to talk to you.
Yeah, this was really fun. Yeah, I've pretty much said everything I had planned, so yeah, I'm good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if people have questions or not, or like
Yeah. No, yeah. Is there anything you want to plug? No, right? You don't do any form of content creation. But if you ever do, let me know. Yeah. Okay. Cool. You don't need to. You could just come here and tell me your ideas, and you already have an Atheist Republic is your platform. So there you go.
yeah, and I don't really have any original ideas, to be honest. It's just like
no, you do.
Things.
You do.
Yeah. Because most of my ideas, sometimes I feel like I probably heard someone else say it, you know.
Right. Wait, Mortad kind of wants to hear the story, so just tell the story about getting kicked out of the mosque, and then we'll go.
Okay. So, oh god. So there's a big mosque in Abu Dhabi. I forgot the name of it, but like it's one of the few mosques that even if you're not Muslim, you're allowed to go there. So my parents and I, we traveled a long way there, but it was in summer, so it was really hot. So I wore these shorts that stopped like right above my knee. And yeah, we traveled maybe 2 hours, like we drove there. And when we got in, so my dad's friend was like, "Hey, his shorts are too short. Like you're supposed to cover your knees, so they might not let you in." So to get inside, I had a jacket with me, like, and I put it on when we were in the car. I put it on my knees to hide how like my shorts were too short. And the security guy at the gate let me go in. He didn't notice anything. And once I got inside, so when I started walking, I got in like at the entrance of the mosque. Like my parents went in, I was gonna walk in. Like three security guys came up to me. They were like, "Yo, like your shorts are way too short. You're revealing too much." So we tried to talk to them. We were like, "Listen, like his shorts are barely above his knee. Like he can like maybe try to like pretend like it does hide the knees." But they were insisting that I couldn't go, so they pretty much like forced me to be in the parking lot, and they just like watched me from afar. I just stood in the parking lot while my parents went inside to do that stuff. But yeah, it was really weird because it's the first time I was told that a short that's right above my knee is too revealing. Sure.
All right, that's a good way to end it. Yeah, I was almost kicked out of a mosque as well. Anyways, oh wow, look at this funny. Body shaming male knees, shame. All right, that was fun. Hey, guys, make sure you subscribe, not just to Atheist Republic, but also my personal YouTube channel, Armin Navabi, just in case we get kicked out. And also subscribe to our newsletter. No, but guys, nobody's going to get us removed from our newsletter, okay? That's the most secured place that we will always be in touch with you. If we get kicked out of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere, the newsletter, they will not be able to take that away from us, okay? So subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description, and you get my Why There Is No God, a copy of my book for free. So you might as well do it now. I'm not going to yell today. No, I will. Do it. Subscribe. Get the newsletter. Subscribe. All right. Bye.